What's up, SNA fans? This Super Ninja Austin back here with another video. This is the AEW Collision Review, Part 18, Episode 180. We're gonna tell you what exactly what went down on the latest edition of Saturday night's AEW show. And we start off with Claudio Castagnoli versus Andrade El Idolo, which was in the fourth round of the Continental Classic tournament on the Blue League side of things. This past Wednesday, there was the fourth round of the Gold League, which John Moxley's continued to kill it in the tournament of the Continental Classic. But yeah, let's start off. This was perhaps the second match of the night because they went hard. Like they were doing extra hard hitting maneuvers on one another, like from the Swiss Cyborg and the leader of El Idolo. Starting off with like when them grappling it out, like going back and forth. This is where Claudio first it was Andrade trying to push him in his corner in the upper left, but he pushed him right to the bottom the bottom side of the left side, like on the lower left. Claudio reversal. This is where they start spinning around into the left hand corner side ropes. This is where the referee was doing his count, like 1, 2, and this is where Andrade put the headlock right onto the Andrade put the headlock right on the Claudio. This is where Claudio Irish whips him right to the left hand corner, right hand corner side. This is where Claudio Castagnoli hits the shoulder tackle right onto Andrade, but he stepped back, but it didn't even phase him when he hit him. And this is where they try to keep trying to play the game of shoulder tackling their opponents down contest. But nothing was not working every time they tried to do it on each other respectively. Like with Andrade trying to do it back at him when he was running towards the ropes. This is where Claudio Castagnoli's like, oh, you think you do it better? He tried to do it to Andrade. Andrade ran right to the bottom rope. He tried to do a shoulder tackle to him, but Claudio went right to the left-hand corner, trying to shoulder tackle him right there, but he still was standing. And then everybody was clapping because they were doing a really good because they were doing very tremendous, like with the performance, like of not giving in to their maneuvers on one another, make this look absolutely legitimate enough as possible. But anyways, this is where Claudio tried to go for a shoulder tackle, but this is where Andrade was still standing. This is where he ran right to the right-hand corner side now. This is where Claudio tried to outsmart him, try to run right behind him. This is where Andrade tried to put his head down. I think he did way too early because this is where Claudio throws him right to the upper corner ropes, I should say, but he was still hanging on him, doing his pose like this. I hate Claudio. Like, how's your day going, or how's your evening going? This is where he was looking like that. This is where Andrade's like, I could be here all day, like because I am the El Idolo, and this is where Claudio tried to spear him out of the ring, like right onto between the middle and the top ropes onto the upper corner. This is where he moved out of the way, playing the game of bullfight, like saying Taro Ole when Claudio tried to charge at him like an angry bull, but he moved right on time so he can land on the outside. This is where Claudio's like, okay, he may have got me right there. This is where he tried to go for a suicide dive, but before he can even land onto the top corner ringside area, this is where Claudio got into the ring. This is where he hits a huge thunderous clothesline right onto Andrade. This is where Claudio was like they don't call me the Swiss Cyborg for nothing. And then this is where Claudio picks up Andrade El Idolo, hit the nailing right hand right to the face of the leader of El Idolo. This is where he starts stomping onto the midsection, and he started booting him right to the left jaw and pushing him right into the jaw. This is where Claudio grabbed onto Andrade, and this is where he hits a European uppercut. This is where he started doing repeated uppercuts. This is where fans start chanting Idolo, Idolo, because and every time and later on to this match, that's where also they were throwing strikes on each other, like like back and forth, like yay, boo, like you get the point. But yeah, which you get, yeah, you get the routine. Like if Claudio and any of the other Blackpool Combat Club members are fighting baby faces, they're going to be acting like heels. But if they're facing heels, they're going to be acting like the baby face, which I think they're tweeners right now. It's like it don't matter who they faces, they're going to be doing what the opposite the wrestlers what the opposite role they're playing as, which I believe they'll probably would say that when they get interviewed about that when somebody notices other than me, like that, and they'll ask them about it like onto the interview, which I would do that if I ever interview either of the BPCC members, or even all four of them at once. But anyways, this is where Claudio Castagnoli picks up Andrade El Idolo, Irish whip him right into the upper left corner. This is where Andrade flips up like doing a somersault, like right over the turnbuckle, landing right on the outer part of the ring onto the left corner apron. This is where he hits. This is where he counters Cesaro's charge and hit him with a knuckle right hand. This is where Andrade went right into the lower left corner, I believe. It's where he hits a pin drop crossbody, which is the ultimate comeback move in all of sports entertainment / pro wrestling. This is where he kicks out Andrade's move. This is where he picks him up. This is where he tried to go for his wife's finishing maneuver, the figure eight, but he gets pushed by Claudio Castagnoli right into the upper left corner. This is where he tried to go for the Claudio swing, but Andrade ran out of the way. That's where he rolls onto the top corner. That's where you try to take a breather. And also, Andrade, I want to let you know that Andrade wrestled that CMLL event that we talked about on the wrestling news a few days ago. And I'm not sure he won, but I heard like according to the commentators, like when they mentioned him when he entered the ring, by the way, I thought I might let you SNA fans know that. But anyway, this is where as soon as Andrade gets back in the ring, this is where Andrade grabs onto the right hand of Andrade, try to go for a running clothesline, but Andrade ducks out of the way, and this is where he runs right through the right corner ropes. This is where Claudio Castagnoli tried to go for a hip toss, but this is where Andrade counters and picks him off with a running hurricane rana right onto Andrade in the middle of the canvas. He made him land onto the left corner of the ringside area. This is where he hits a sliding kick right into the face. This is where he goes for a crossbody right onto Claudio. But I don't know how Claudio Castagnoli caught him in midair when he tried to go for a crossbody. But I believe it wasn't a guaranteed, even though it was in the outside. But you get the rules. But he hits a big intercepting flying European uppercut right in like 6 feet in the air. Like, how did he did that? I was like, how the hell did the former Swiss Superman did that? But anyway, this is where Claudio throws him back in the ring. This is where he tried to finish him off by hitting some moves on him, like a signature finisher. But this is where Andrade El Idolo grabs onto his right leg out of nowhere, hits a dragon screw, and slamming him right into the canvas, like with his knee alongside. This is where he tried to go for a clothesline when Andrade was running towards him. This is where Andrade ducks out of the way, runs right through the right-hand corner ropes. This is where Claudio was double lucky. He hit a double whammy onto Claudio Castagnoli, hitting my apologies, hitting another flying European uppercut out of nowhere, more nowhere than the Viper Randy Orton's RKO. This is where he tried to go for the pin onto Andrade, but he only got a 2.999999999999999 double triple nines, 0.1 away from being 3. And then this is where we get towards the end, and this is where Andrade somehow counters out of it. This is where I could bring down Claudio Castagnoli, puts him in the figure 4, like a half a guaranteed. I would say 50%. I'll say 50% guaranteed. Yeah, if that make any sense, like a half and half guaranteed. But because it was only a figure 4 rather than a figure 8. But Claudio Castagnoli managed to slide and grab onto the rope for a rope break. This is where Andrade gets back up. This is where he goes right on the top rope on the lower right corner. Or not lower right, the lower left. My apologies. This is where Claudio catches him right off the corner on the top rope. And this is where he started hitting a couple right hands. This is where he tried to get up, try to do a top rope avalanche maneuver, but Andrade counts with a right hand. This is where he started going back and forth until Claudio hits a huge headbutt right into the head of Andrade El Idolo. This is where he tried to go for an avalanche suplex, but Andrade started repeatedly hitting a triple, I'll say a triple, what's that? A hammered hook, fist right into the midsection until we try to go for a guillotine, to try to go for some kind of a DDT off the top rope. This is where Andrade think of something better. Like as soon as Claudio tried to go for a fireman's carry, and this is where he counters, hits a sunset flip right off the top rope, knocking him down onto the canvas, but he only got a 2.8 second count. This is where Andrade's like, never mind. Like, no matter. Like, I got this right into the hand. This is where, right into the bag. This is where he puts him right into the bottom turnbuckle, lower right corner of Tina the turnbuckle. And it's a running double knees right into the face. This is where he goes for the pin, but the referee counted to 1, counted to 2. But Claudio kicks out at 2.9999999, double, triple nines. 0.1 away from being 3. I hope I'm not driving you crazy, but that's what it seems like when somebody kicks out like at the last second. That's my best reaction to describe the matter. But this is what Andrade's like I'm gonna have to think bigger out of the box right here, like in order to defeat Claudio into this match and merge 9 more points, I believe. Yeah, because he already won 2. Like 9, I think it was 9. Yeah. Like you have to win 9 points because he won 2 and lost 1. But this is where Claudio Castagnoli hits a huge European uppercut right onto Andrade El Idolo. Goes for a suplex right off the top rope. Finally did so, which was a guaranteed. Even though, before anybody in the comments are saying Super Ninja Austin, it's not a signature finishing move. Well, that doesn't matter. Whatever move it could be. I said particular, it's mostly signature finishing maneuver when this statistic happens. But yeah, he gets a guaranteed avalanche suplex off the top rope, but Andrade counters when he tries to go for another super. But this is where Andrade counters and hits 2 amigos until he tries to go for a third one. But yeah, that's not a guarantee. And he twists the Irish whip him right to the upper right. I'll say the lower right corner of Tina the turnbuckle. I'm so confused right now on what to say, about what kind of corners it is. I just trying to pick the first one that comes to my head. But anyways, this is where Claudio Irish whips him after he tried to go for the third amigo to Andrade, went onto the lower right corner. And this is where Claudio tried to hit another striking European uppercut like he did at the beginning of the show, but that wasn't a guaranteed at all. This is where Andrade moved out of the way and tried to hit him face first right onto the turnbuckle, onto the top turnbuckle support pipe, I should say, or little that little support thing of the turnbuckle. But anyway, this is where they start hitting forearms back and forth on each other. This is where we saw Andrade El Idolo hit the knife fist chop, and he probably showing a sign that he wants to go back to WWE and be added to Gunther's envy list and cash in his vouchers, I should say, his return vouchers to WWE to face Gunther, because before Gunther even got called to the main roster, way before, he already got released and joined AEW, while he's still biting on that, of course, with everybody that's speculating all over YouTube and all over the internet's be saying. But anyway, this is where Claudio started hitting a striking forearm. This is where Andrade went into back with a right forearm. This is where Claudio hits a big boot. Because Claudio did not want to have anything to do with Gunther, because his minions trying to replace him, Giovanni Vinci, which I'm not sure if I should have name dropped him. My apologies, by the way. But anyways, this is where Claudio hits a big boot right to Andrade's face. This is where Andrade entered back with a big boot right to his face. Like Andrade hit, Claudio hits a big boot back to him for the second time. This is where Andrade tried to go for a big boot, but he dodged. But he did not know he was gonna have a big elbow, which I kind of expected that to happen. Like if he missed the big boot, because he had that move ever since he was in WWE, if not before his WWE run. But when he tried to go for a pin, he only got a 2.99999 double triple nine, 2.1 for being 3. This is where Claudio has Claudio had Andrade El Idolo right into the lower right corner of Tina the Turnbuckle. This is where Andrade ram him right into the midsection. Andrade goes right up on the mid rope, but he gets knuckle punched by Claudio with his right fist. This is where he hits a right forearm right to the face onto Andrade. This is where he tried to go for a suplex, trying to go and get the. This is where he tried to go for. This is where he tried to go for a third time is a charm superplex off the top rope, which I'm not sure if he would do so because he don't have a 4-leaf clover. But this is where he tried to go for an avalanche hammerlock DDT when he tried to counter off of Claudio's super. But this is where Claudio trips him over, landed onto the exposed turnbuckle steel. An exposed turnbuckle steel of the support padding, like like the ones that hold up the turnbuckle and the pad. That middle what's that middle long bar thing? Like he landed right on there like any wrestler do. But this time he exposed it and it backfired on Andrade, unfortunately, right into the family jewels, and looked like we won't see poor Andrade and Charlotte Flair be starting a family anytime soon for this tragic spot right here against Claudio Castagnoli. But just to be the funny side, hopefully they do start a family when that time comes. And I'll say, with her taking some time off, it looks like that won't be happening anytime soon, because it needs to heal first. But anyways, this is where referee put the padding in for a back. This is where Claudio hits a gut buster, more like the word that rhymes with gut. I'm not sure if I should say it on here, but yeah, he hits him with a gut buster, more like hitting him in the NUT, which I believe I could say it, but it's just what I'm referring to, which I could say it once, you did a nut buster, more like. This is where he hits the neutralizer, and this is where he gets the 1, 2, 3. And he emerges 9 or 6 points, 3 more points, But yeah, he got the win, and it looked like Claudio Castagnoli scored only 6 points, with him only winning twice into this Continental Classics tournament series. But yeah, But it looks like Andrade El Idolo remains 9 points. My apologies. I really paid. I thought he lost lost 2 matches and won 2 or something like that. No, or not. He lost 2 matches and 2 for now. It looked like he won 3 of his matches in a row. But what are your thoughts on this match? Do you think it was match of the night or second or whatever match of the night in your opinion? Let me know down in the comments below. But we're going to move on with last Wednesday Night Dynamite's recap of who won, with Roosh against Jay Lethal, and then Jay White against Mark Briscoe, and even Jon Moxley breaking the tie with Swerve Strickland, of defeating him, even though it was in the kind of a screwy finish. This is where Jay White was still provoking Jon Moxley. He was like, "Hey, Jon Moxley, you're not going to be number 1 when I defeat you on this coming Wednesday's Dynamite on the 5th round of the Continental Classic tournament, but I'm going to steal your wife away." Which I would say, Jay, I'm just kidding. I was kidding about that. I'm steal your wife away, and she's going to finally say bang, 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 gang with me. But that's just my version of saying that. Just to make this more entertaining than it is. This is where Jon Moxley, Swerve Strickland, Jon Moxley had things to say. He's like, Like, you're the guy that takes me out. Like, I'll go to the, like, that's where Strickland was like, you never beaten me. Like, I had my shoulders up, and the referee had a blind eye on me, like when he counted the three, and no matter, like, I'm not gonna make this my excuse. Like, I'm gonna get back into the match when I beat was it Roosh or Jay or not or Mark Briscoe. I think it was either Roosh or Mark Briscoe. It's but yeah, he's like who's out Swerve's house, and then John Moxley's like. And he was like, and this is where Swerve Strickland also said, like a former AEW World Champion had to pull on my trunks just to defeat me, like in that match to break the tie of 9-9. And he said the catchphrase again, "Whose house, Swerve's house." John Moxley's like, it doesn't matter what was the results of like at the end of the night, I beat you, and I'm still undefeated in this tournament, and I'm gonna beat until I'm in the finals and defeat whoever's in the other side in the blue leagues. Like, and I be first ever triple crown AEW champion, AEW triple crown continental champion. Let me my apologies for messing that up a little bit. But up next we had Abaddon taking on. Taking on this enhancement talent, I should say. That's the best way to. Well, hitting her with a fallaway Uranagi. This is where try to pick her up. This is where she counters, hits a super kick on the Abaddon. This is where Abaddon picks her head back up. This is where she hits a like a mousetrap kick, like with her leg flipping back right to this girl's face. This is where she hits a forward roundhouse kick and a big boot right to the side of her face. This is where Abaddon picks her back up, hits her with her finishing maneuver with that leg wrap around her head like into a leg DDT for the 1-2-3. This is where we had her. This is where she won once again into a squash match, and it got more interesting when what's her name? When Julia Hart came out once again for like the third week in a row. This time, this is where she put the title as a line, like a boundary line, like if you want a piece of me, go across the line. That's what Julia Hart was looking like. This is where she did cross the line, spearing her right across the championship line. And started beating the punches and punching her right across her face. I was like, is Julia Hart turning babyface? And I was like, and that's when it changed my mind when Sky Blue came out and helped out. And this is where she went face to face with Abaddon when after she was holding on to the AEW TBS Women's Championship. This is where it looks like Sky Blue's going after Julia Hart, but instead she started attacking Abaddon. And I was like, and this is where they start double teaming her. I was like, okay, like, are they baby faces or heel? Like, I am confused right now. And this is where it confirmed things. Like after they start slamming her face in the ground, this is where we had Thunder Rosa come in there. This is where she started hitting strikes the right hands right into the duo heel's face. But this was also before Thunder Rosa came out there. I also want to explain, like, this is where when the other commentator, I think it was either Tony Schiavone or Kevin Kelly, said, like, it's Sky Blue. And this is where Nigel McGuinness took a page out of my nickname playbook. And that's when he called her more like Sky Black. I was like, really? Like, Nigel? I thought you were more cooler than this. Like, you're starting to be more like a Corey Graves. Like, why did you have to why you have to bootleg my sayings, like, just because you hear me saying this on the SNA podcast? Like Nigel, like, I know you were very you're being a bit like wacky when it comes to your heel gimmick as a commentator, but you really have to go that far of taking, like, that's usually MJF's job, like, of stealing my sayings. Except for I'm better than you and you know it. I didn't came up with that. Or you're not on the level of the devil. Like, I have a better saying about that. about you're not on the level of the devil, but I know even it was obvious on the thumbnail that Sky Blue is going to be turned to Sky Black, but did he really have to say what he had to say what came out of my mouth like weeks ago? Ever since she's been spat onto that Black Miss by Julia Hart, and she's been wearing the black eyeliners from the past a couple of months. Like, really, Nigel? Like, you couldn't have to come up with anything else to say, like, so you wouldn't be accused for copywriting? But never mind. But this is where we got an odd couple duo with Abaddon and Thunder Rosa being a future program with Julia Hart and Sky Blue, which I was thinking, like, I don't get, like, how come they couldn't do this when Julia Hart was in a program with Chris Statlander, and we could do a potential women's tag match into the mid-card division, like with Willow Nightingale and Chris Statlander taking on Sky Blue and Julia Hart, or more like Sky Black now. Like either way, like genuinely, like whether if I started the whole Sky Black thing, like with me saying it on here on the SNA podcast, or even saying, or wherever on social media, or wherever or you see me call her Sky Black, like she's still been Sky Black anyway. It's just a joke. Like, I'm not taking it way too serious. Like, about Nigel, like it's supposed to be a thing about me not really being on the same page with the heel commentator, like with Corey Graves, like I do with Corey Graves on SmackDown, and like on SmackDown. Yeah, I'm right. Yeah, on Friday Night SmackDown. But what are your thoughts on this about a potential tag match? What the fans are chanting, "Welcome back to Thunder Rosa," which was a big ovation, like for the women's from the former AEW women's champion, and I believe she was in her home home state, which is Texas is a state, at least for now. But anyways, yeah, like the state of Texas, like, so it was the best way to make her return. That something like a similar scenario with CM Punk, like when he made his long 9-year absent return in WWE, like in his home town in Chicago. So this is the best way to do it for Thunder Rosa, of making her return from injuries, like from over a year, be in her home country in Texas. But this is where they thought it was convincing, but Abaddon agreed to shake Thunder Rosa's hand. This is where they became a little alliance, like with I believe Abaddon turned babyface, like for being in this program with what's their name, Sky Black and Julia Hart, which I should say Julia Hart first, then her new ally Sky Black. But what's your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comments down below. Let's move on to the next slide, and that is Orange Cassidy defending his NXT. I'm calling this the NXT Mid-Card Championship when it's obviously the international it's AEW International Championship match, which I would say this could be. For the street fight match being fourth match, I would say this was the fifth match of the night. But the fact that we have so many matches to talk about, which we're going to get to that point. But this is where he took on Brian Keith. That's what. For the international championship, it's Orange Cassidy taking on Brian Keith. This is where he had his hands on his pockets. This is where he started taunting him with the leg, kicking his legs right onto Brian Keith. This is where he hits a thunderous knife edge chop right on the Orange Cassidy, which made Gunther pissed off out there, adding him on the list, and wanted to face him in the squash match in the foreseeable future. Wherever he goes, the AEW is his old Walter name, or go to if Brian Keith goes to WWE as an enhancement talent. If he leaves AEW for any reasons. But anyway, this is where Brian Keith Irish whips Orange Cassidy right to the right-hand corner rope. This is where he tried to go for a running clothesline, but Orange Cassidy ducks out of the way, hit the middle missile drop kick right onto right onto Brian Keith. This is where he started getting ticked off, looking like Stokely Hathaway with some cornrows braids. This is where he tried to hit a striking right hand, but Orange Cassidy dug down with his hands in the pocket. But this is where he puts him right between his legs, try to go for a tiger driver. This is where Orange Cassidy rams him right onto the or bulldoze him right onto the upper left corner turnbuckle until it's where Brian Keith started hitting a knife edge chop right into the chest of Orange Cassidy. This is where he thought. This is where Irish whip him right into the upper left corner. This is where Orange Cassidy flips right over and goes right onto the top apron. This is where, this is where Brian Keith got countered when he tried to go for a right hand. Orange Cassidy hits a forearm right to his jaw. This is where he turns around like if he's some kind of a zombie or a faceless vampire, of course. This is where he what you did you're gonna regret doing that. This is where Orange Cassidy tried to go for another one. This is where Brian Keith was like, all right, I try to do it again. Give me your biggest shot. Try to do something. This is where he tried to hit a right hand, but this is where he pulls him off. This is where he hits a big headbutt right to the head of Orange Cassidy. This is where Brian Keith tried to close on him out off the top corner apron. This is where he rolled back in the ring, going to the lower right corner. This is where he runs right to the right side. This is where Brian Keith ducks. This is where Orange Cassidy tried to charge at Brian Keith from the left corner ropes. This is where he dodges out of the way. This is where he hits a big boot right to the face of Orange Cassidy. This is where Brian Keith was like, woo, like not easy. This was like, I am your next international champion. But this is where he tried to go for a tornado DDT on the Orange Cassidy. This is where he tried to go for a big boot when Orange Cassidy puts him right off the lower left corner of the turnbuckle, but I have his legs right onto the middle of the canvas. This is where he tried to go for a clothesline on Orange Cassidy. He ducks and he goes right to the bottom ropes, I should say. This is where he hits a fine head scissors DDT. And this is where Orange Cassidy goes for a suicide dive right onto Brian Keith, who landed right onto the top corner barricade. This is where he throws him back in the ring. This is where Orange Cassidy heads up right on the top rope. This is where the fans start chanting, freshly squeezed, freshly squeezed, freshly squeezed, freshly squeezed. And then this is where he went right on the top rope. Orange Cassidy goes up. But this is where Brian Keith tried to go for like some kind of a mid-rope Spanish fly maneuver until Orange Cassidy started hitting elbows right into the shoulders of Brian Keith. Started hitting right forearms and elbows right onto Keith. This is where the fans started chanting, yeah. And this is where he hits a big headbutt right onto Brian Keith. This is where Orange Cassidy goes right on the top rope. This is where the referee was like, 1, 2, come on, get off the ropes, Cassidy. This is where Brian Keith thought he was the Undertaker or Kane because he got back up by sitting up like if he was playing a Grim Reaper character, which I'm not sure if he even is. Like, even for being a cowboy from the desert, I don't think he's Grim Reaper. Of course not. Yeah. This is where Brian Keith goes around the top rope or middle rope. He was like, yeah, I'm back in business. That's where he hits a counter right when he goes right up on he was still on the top rope. This is where he tried to go for a Spanish fly or exploder suplex. Let me rephrase my apologies. I thought he was going to go for a Spanish fly, but it was actually a exploder suplex that he did. It was a guaranteed, I believe, because he tried to go for the first time, but Orange Cassidy knocked him off the upper left corner of the turnbuckle. This is where Orange Cassidy was on his knees. He gets knee struck by what's his name? Brian Keith. This is where he tried to go for a tiger driver. This is where Orange Cassidy flips out of it. This is where Brian Keith tried to go for a power bomb instead, but this is where he was rolling out of it. This is where Orange Cassidy hits his finishing maneuver, which is the beach break. This is where he tried to go for a pinfall. The referee counted the one, referee counted the two, but he nearly had it by an inch, but unfortunately he came up short with Brian Keith hitting his shoulders up on a 2.999999 double triple nines, 0.1 away from being 3. And this is where the fans start chanting "Be fresh." I was like, I don't know what that means. It's like a certain catchphrase from a foot-long sandwich commercial. But I was like, get the wrong company that was in that commercial before with saying the company's name and saying the phrase that they're saying out there. But let's continue about to this match. This is where Orange Cassidy started doing those light tap kicks right onto the shoulders of Brian Keith until he started stomping, like doing those stomp kicks right into the shoulders, like repeatedly right onto the freshly squeezed superstar or wrestler, I should say. It was like, oh, and this is where Brian Keith got back up and he was like, well, if you insist, this is where he hit the super kick right to his face. This is where Orange Cassidy tried to go for like a running chop block, but this is where he gets kicked like into a roundhouse knee strike by Brian Keith. This is where Brian Keith had him laid out right onto the upper left corner, and this is where he runs, hits a step up enziguri right onto the head of Orange Cassidy. This is where he goes right on the middle rope. This is where he hits a 6-shooter stunner, like right off the top rope, doing like a face buster like stunner maneuver. This is where he tried to go for a pin, but he was so close. This is where Orange Cassidy paid him back the favor with a 2.99999999999 double triple nine, negative 0.1 away from being 3 kick out. I was like, wow, like I would expect him to kick out, but I didn't know he was going to kick out at that last second, like being so close of being 3, of course. This is where Brian Keith was like, I don't get it. Like, how is he doing that? Like, but no matter. Like, I'm going to take him up to the moon. And I was like, be careful not saying the phrase because a certain particular millionaire, WWE superstar, will file a lawsuit against you. But luckily that didn't happen, of course. This is where Brian Keith tried to go for a double underhook tiger driver, but this is where he was denied the 3rd time, which I believe he's triple cursed. This is where Orange Cassidy tried to go for some kind of an abdominal stretch roll up to retain his AEW International Championship, which is kind of like the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll up. And he got the uno, dos, tres. And what you thought about this match? Y'all let me know down in the comments below. Do you think it was very needed into tonight's AEW Collision, or they could have waited until like a Dynamite or even a Rampage to do a match like this? Which I don't think they didn't need to. It was perfect on the card. Like if we're gonna have if we're gonna have a handful of matches, like half a dozen of them even, you should have this be particular, especially with him planning on defending his title in the open challenge. Though this kind of made sense. Like someone who steps up with him, they get a fair open challenge, but would you expect if it's not like someone that's big in the mid-card division of the International Championship, expect them to take an L from Orange Cassidy because he's going to know a way how to steal a victory. But let's move on to the next slide, which is this is where Miro starts saying the people that don't make any sense, right? I know the drama, it's the drama that I try to avoid for so long, and I am the Redeemer. I don't want to fight Andrade because he's my wife's client. I want to fight him because he's the a-hole. And he's like, and then he's he's also just lost the match against Claudio earlier tonight on the opener of Collision. And he's like a loss away from being eliminated. And And he's like, and I'm done avoiding people to please my wife, and I'm ready to kill everyone. For like kill everyone for myself to keep my wife and keep my wife around me. I'm like, well, that's definitely a crime encounter, which I believe Simon Miller is going to talk about that on his ups and downs on Monday. But yeah, for now, you're going to hear me saying that this is the crime encounter of the night, because you just cannot say you were going to kill somebody on live national television like that. Like, someone's going to phone the police. Like, well, I'm not saying I'm going to do it because I'm not a snitch, obviously, but I'm just saying in a genuine statement, like, you cannot just say that you're going to kill just because they're going to try to lay a move on your wife. Like it's one thing of beating them down like you did to Nick Mimeth and Daniel Garcia, but threatening to kill, like, I don't think that's very necessary. Well, even though it's a metaphor, like, I don't think you should really use it much as a metaphor, because somebody's gonna take it. He's gonna be confused about this. Just a genuine statement. Well, I'll say, for those who don't know what he mean, like, they should be watching it because they're not understanding the product. But anyway, this is where he continues to say, "Here's a delightful soul. Here's a delightful soul. Like, in my darkness, this will be. Like, this is the word of the Redeemer," which, whatever that means. Like, I thought you were God's favorite champ. Now you're saying something in the darkness is telling you something. Like, okay, like, that's an in between kind of confusion right there. Like, I just don't understand what's the matter with the former TNT and United States champion. But let me know what y'all think about this in the comments down below. And do you think that, on my theory, that, like I said from a couple of days ago, like, how I would like to see Ric Flair be Andrade's manager, by, like, when Miro's wife CJ Perry turns on him whenever they have their match, which I could see them wrestling either at World's End, like the earliest, and then as soon as they have their match, and at the end of the match is where we see CJ Perry choosing who she's gonna help, which it'll be a shocking twist that she's gonna help her own husband, like, after trying to avoid him, like, for the past couple of months, like, and him telling her that she should go home and be like every man's wife that should do, like cooking his dinner and being in bed with her and doing his laundry, or whatever that wives do for their husbands. Like, but she's, like, more than just a typical housewife. Like, I agree. So I was like, if she's gonna be like I'll say, if she's gonna be more than just that, I think she's doing a really good job being the manager. But I'm not sure she should be a manager for any other wrestlers beside her own husband Miro. Like, she should be the manager of him. Like, yeah, like in WWE, like when they were Lana and Rusev at the time. But let's move on to the next slide, which is, I believe, the women's tag match. But before we do this, where we have a backstage interview with Lexi interviewing Commander with a K, and this is where he tried to say what's next for him. Before he had a chance to, this is where Roderick Strong and his boys, the Kingdom, came in and say, "Commander!" Like, dude, we just like to talk to you. This is where Mike Bennett was sucking on a lollipop, like, oh yeah, taking that out so he could say that, but he put it back in his mouth. This is where Roderick Strong's like, despite all the good things that she's saying about you, dude, like, we all know you didn't win. Like, and that's not very good. You see, like, I'm a former Ring of Honor television championship, so therefore, I'm a survival of fittest. Like, I guess who won the survival of the fittest as well? Like, yep, that's right, me as well. And then he's also went on to, and this is where Mike Bennett confirmed that he did it by being on the exact same night when he was been under a contract with them. And then this is where he's like, that's true. Like, so I'll just let you know this, like, I myself, like, we go get back on the go for, like, no pun intended, like our fellas, like, I think I found my next victim. And he was like, yeah, guess who it is? And this is where both Mike Bennett and Matt Taven was like, who is it? And then this is where Roderick Strong shouted out and pointed at him. He said, Commander! I was like, how do you know if he's gonna be your victim if you're not gonna be his victim of the guys he's beaten in All Elite Wrestling? But only one way to find out is to see them battle it out on the holiday edition the holiday bash edition of AEW Dynamite, which makes sure I need to remember to put that on the caption so I could be remembered. I'll probably be reminded by plenty of fellow YouTube homies by when they're uploading their videos on the wrestling news and the wrestling reviews of AEW, like Collision, Rampage. Well, mostly Collision, because the ones I usually watch don't do reviews for AEW Rampage no more. But this is where we do have, but this is where we have FTR in the ring in an in-ring promo, like sending a message to House of Black. Like, this is where they had to say, like, saying, I think, and it was like, and then it was like House of Black, like, we think that you're mad at yourselves, and y'all, because considering he's on the Continental Classic and none of you two aren't, like Buddy and Malachi, like you're probably kind of jealous of that, aren't you? Like, I think that you've seen the success that Julia has been receiving, like, since she's been on her own, like, into the women's division, which she came out of Cash Wheeler's mouth, of course. He was like, he also, you maybe are jealous of that of your two teammates, but you're not gonna take your anger out on yourself. You're not gonna take your anger out on yourselves, or you're not gonna take your anger out on your teammates. Like, you found your punching bag directly at us, like who else you be doing it at, of course, like, and then. And this is where one of the fans said they are stuck, and then this is where Dax Harwood couldn't help but laugh. I think he went out of character because it really was funny, like, ha ha ha. But anyway, this is where Cass was like, so I say, if you want to say something to us, you know where to find us. And this is where Dax Harwood was like, yeah, that's right. And Dallas right here, I was like, I knew they were in Texas because they were just saying, like, they said they were in Texas. And two, Thunder Rosa made a return, which they mentioned about her making her return in her home state of Texas. But it's where Dax Harwood was like, Dallas, we love you guys. And this is where the fans chanted back, like, we love you too, FTR. Like you're our favorite tag team. And this is where Dax Harwood was like, yeah. And also, yeah. And then while giggling, he's like, y'all have a lot of positive things to say to FTR, don't y'all? And I read it, and it's like, I read everything online, what y'all tweet, and then but y'all say, even though y'all tweet like that we're not the best looking guys, like, that's okay, like, we can live with that. And he's like, you can say we don't have the best bodies in the world, like that's like, I guess that's not the that's not very that's not really a lie right there. Like, that's an understatement right there, what y'all saying. And then also, we're not saying we're not the flashiest, we're the better breeds of the cash. Like, I heard that we're hard to do business with. Like, but there's one thing you can't say about FTR, and that's one thing. We don't back down from a fight. That's the least thing we do. Like, face to face, like, I don't mind taking an ass whooping. Like, for the last 19 years of my life and half of my life, like, I fought many, like, for money. Like, if I get my ass whooped, that's okay. But I do have a problem. Like, I do have a problem, people. Like, I suck a bunch of them behind. Like what House of Black did to me and my boy Cash here. And then he also, Uncle Dax Harwood also went on to say, man, this will be our first time ever. Like, House of Black versus before he could say a match, like, with them challenging them at World's End, I believe. This is where the microphone went off. Like, this is where FTR was like, why the heck is that? This is where yes, yeah, yes, sirs. Yeah, I can change them. Yeah, I'm glad we can. Yeah. Hey, baby's clean. Okay, Super Ninja Austin back. We're back to the segment with FTR and the House of Black. Before they can have a chance to say anything else, their microphones went out and they were wondering why it was off. Like they were trying to, but this is where they saw on the Titantron and the lights went out. Like when it was none other than Buddy Matthews and Malachi Black to send the return the favor of a message to the former AEW tag team champions. They were like, when Buddy Matthews like, Dax, your wife, like, and this is where Dax Hart was like, you better keep my wife's name out your mouth, or I'll break your jaw like into 10,000 pieces. This is where he's like your wife and your daughter will not save you, Dax. Like and like everybody you love like will not save you. Like, but I want to direct this direction to send this direction send the direction to Cash. Like what I want to talk to, and this is where he's like, everybody, no, nobody does not love you. Like all the people loves Dax, but who really loves you, Cash? Like just ask me. Just or no, just not ask. I'm I'm gonna ask you this. Like, why don't you tell me who loves you? That's what he said. Like, yeah. Like we embrace you, we welcome you, but we welcome both of you guys. Like you welcome us in our family. And then he continues saying, or this is where Malachi Black weighed in, and he was like, yeah, this is our like this is our family, and you're thinking this is personal. Like, no, this is not personal. Like he's like, no. This is what happens. Like when we have to prove a point, and he's like, so impressively, like even hurts us because this is this is what is it? Like it's not personal. Like no. This is what happens. Like when we have to prove a point, and like someone that aggressively, like it even hurts because this is love. What we're doing, like, but because let me ask you this question, like out of the title, like when we attack you, like who came to save you? Just answer that. Like no one. So did we lie? Like no, we did not lie. Like no, we did not lie. And if I was making it personal, like, well, I would have a picture of you, of your wife, and your daughter, and he said, and I would do this to them, like if I really had hate for you, any of you guys, especially you, Dax. And this is where he had Buddy Matthews lit up the fire right onto the picture of the lit up the fire on the picture of Dax, not Dax Cash, yeah. Yeah, it was Dax. A picture of Dax and his wife and daughter. Put it in the bonfire can and lit up and fire and flamed away. This is where we got a vignette of Keith Keith Lee taking on Shane Taylor and defeating him at last night's final battle event, which I kind of talk about the events. One of the other matches, which was Athena taking on Billy Starks, which she beat her and she handshake and Billy Starks became her minion again. And also, she said on the press conference, I believe, she wants to wrestle in Japan, something that she never got to do yet, like in her stay in AEW / Ring of Honor. But anyway, this is where last night's Ring of Honor pay-per-view, Keith Lee defeated Shane Taylor. This is where Lexi they showed Lexi on the vignette interviewing him and said like you defeated Shane Taylor finally. Like it's great. Like now it's all just over. But what? And now that it's over, like what's next for Keith Lee? This was like Lexi, like Shane Taylor. It's not him. That I need to finish off. And this is where Lexi was like, what did he mean by that? And this is where we went back in the ring, which was Willow Nightingale taking on Willow Nightingale and Chris Statlander taking on Mercedes Martinez and Diamante. This is where they were double teaming Diamante in the ring, like when they when they brought down what's her name, Mercedes Martinez. This is where they tried to do a double team with Chris Statlander was hanging on Diamante. This is where Willow Nightingale was right onto the the left corner apron, trying to go for a running cannonball right onto the left corner of the ringside area. But this is where Diamante got out of the hold that Chris Statlander was doing, and she accidentally hit Chris Statlander instead. Like, boom, landed right on her, like, hard. This is where she tried to check on Chris Statlander, which she was okay, but she was going to be down for a couple of minutes. And this is where Mercedes Martinez hits a This is where, Mercedes Martinez did something absolutely brutal and maybe too hardcore in a women's hardcore tag team Texas street fight match. That's what it was. Another reason why it was they were in Texas, because they were in they said it, and also Thunder Rosa made a return. And 3, it was the street fight match, like this women's street fight hardcore Texas hardcore street fight match, I should say. This is where Diamante and Martinez throws Willow Nightingale back in the ring. This is where Diamante hits a flying head scissor right into the ring, like slamming her right to the lower right corner of the apron. Or no, it was Chris Statlander. She did this too. She hit Chris Statlander with a flying head scissor and a running drop kick right into her face. This is where she started hitting repeated right knuckle punches right onto Chris Statlander. This is where she tried to go for hitting her right with her bat. This is where she kicks her right in the gut. This is where she goes right for a DDT, right face first, right to that barbed wire bat. Like, I'm surprised she didn't got busted open from that, from getting such a maneuver. Like, it's like if they're mimicking everything from AEW Fight Forever, like in WWE games, like women do not bleed. Well, I'm not sure if that's really the case. Like, it just don't make any sense. I don't get it. Like, I mean, they're trying to be more sensitive for the women, but women don't care about being sensitive. They'll be like even the women are like, if we were sensitive, we wouldn't be joining this industry. Like, if we were softies, to describe the women's wrestlers in the industry, whether if they're in WWE, AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, AAA, CMLL, Major League, National Wrestling Alliance, you name it. Like, yeah, they'll probably would say that, like, if we were sensitive, we would not be doing this, participating in such matches, let alone being in the industry in the first place. This is where Martinez was hitting right hands right into the Nightingale. This is where she started finally. This is where we saw blood drawn, like when she was blading Willow's head. This is where Chris Statlander helped out Willow. Like with her blading and splitting, Willow open. This is where Chris Statlander saved the day onto Mercedes Martinez and hits a Irish whip through right across Barry Barricade, the former Barry Barricade, in his funeral tombstone, I should say, right to the bottom corner. This is where Chris Statlander seeing the cut right onto the head of Willow. This is where she tried to. This is where she. I saw a cut. This is where she tried to pick her back up. This is where she tell her that she can still do this match, which she's like, yes, I can still do it. This is where they double team and grab onto Simba the steel steps right on both the top and bottom steps, I think, and put it right in the middle, of right in the left side corner, I should say, the left side corner of the ringside area. This is where they did a huge high five. This is where Willow was leaking with the red stuff. And this is where Diamante was the same way when she was running and ran right through the steel steps where they laid it at. She stepped right on top and hit a crossbody on both Willow and Chris Statlander, which is the ultimate comeback move in all of sports entertainment / pro wrestling in 2023, which it might continue in 2024. But anyway, this is where she tried to go for it, but it was not like a comeback, more like a useless comeback, I should say, like a pointless, or should I say pointless, because they landed her right onto the front part, like her front part of her body, right onto some of the steel steps, like on those very same steps. And then this is where when they turned around, this is where Mercedes Martinez had a ladder and threw it across the face of Chris Statlander and Willow Nightingale, but they countered and threw the steps right. I'm not the ladder, a small ladder right into her face, landed face first into her face. This is where Willow throws Diamante back in the ring. This is where she tried to go for a pin, but she only got a 2 even count. This is where she was. This is where Will Nightingale was hitting the daylights out of Diamante, hitting forearms, right hands. This is where Willow would start rubbing the red stuff right into her face. This is where Willow try to go for a spinning power slam. This is where Martinez gets back in the ring, hits a crowbar right into the back of Willow Nightingale. This is where Statlander came back in the ring. This is where she had a pile of chairs stacked and layered in a row, like to put either Diamante or Mercedes Martinez through. But this is where Mercedes Martinez and Diamante were double teaming Willow Nightingale of doing a double team beatdown until Chris Statlander tried to step in. But this is where she gets hit with a right hand by Martinez. This is where they do a double Irish whip right on, to Willow right through Chris Statlander right onto the upper left corner of Tina Turnbuckle where Chris Statlander was laying at. This looked like it looked like when Willow Nightingale sold this, looked like she was getting destroyed and murder into a murder scene on a horror movie, of course. Because this looked very frightening with the blood stuff, with the blood all over their head, like on both Diamante and Willow Nightingale. I was like, wow, this doesn't look good for both women. Even though it's not like they're taking this too far, they're keep bleeding on every match, like John Moxley, and they're gonna get complaints. This is a no DQ match. Anything can go in this match. If it was but if it was more often, and even in a match that's not no disqualification, it's still it probably would have been a problem for the AEW for the Warner Bros. Discovery of them having complaints coming in about this, which I don't think there's going to be complaints about this. It's just very be concerns about. Let's hope that none of these women got seriously injured during this match. But anyways, this is where Mercedes Martinez had Chris Statlander right on the top rope, trying to go for a spider legs German suplex, which he landed back first right onto those piles of chairs, which it backfired on poor Chris Statlander. This is where Diamante tried to take advantage to go for a pin, but this is where Willow Nightingale go for a save. This is where she does the save. This is where Martinez tried to knock not Chris Statlander, Willow Nightingale out of the match. This is where she with a big boot. This is where she goes for right hands onto the face of Willow, of doing a brutal beatdown on the former New Japan Strong Women's Champion. This is where they set out the thumbtacks. This is where Diamante hits a code red sunset flip slam right onto Chris Statlander's back, but she also hurt her backside right in the process, with them having stuck what's those thumbtacks right on their backs respectively. She was like, oh my God. This is where she tried to go for a pin. This is where Will Nightingale hits a kick right into the face. This is where she started hitting an axe handle right onto the Diamante. This is where Mercedes Martinez was whacking Willow's back with that board right in the back. This is where Willow Nightingale started fighting back with a right hand right into the Martinez's face. This is where she tried to go for a Death Valley driver. I was like, come on, do it. Which is my signature move, which I call it the Sass Valley drive, the Sass Valley driver. But this is where unfortunately it didn't work. And if I wasn't doing this SNA podcast, I'll probably go somewhere crying right now. Okay, I'm just kidding. Because it didn't work. Like something what Simon Miller would say. This is where she goes for a kick, but this is where Martinez caught onto her leg, spinned her around, like with her facing the ropes onto the outer side of the right corner of the right corner onto the hardest part of the ring apron, the hardest apron, harder than my nephew's big piece of the checker chip. See. But anyway, this is where Martinez goes for a sunset flip, but this is where Willow was trying to hang on to the ropes. This is where Diamante hits a forward middle drop kick right onto Willow to knock her off the apron, and this is where Martinez finally hits a sunset flip powerbomb. This is where Chris Statlander got back up. She hits a discus lariat right onto but before she did that to Diamante, this is where the fans start chanting "Holy Sugar Honey Iced Tea" without saying the word "Sugar Honey Iced Tea." They just say the words that's the initials for the term, of course. This is where the fans were like, "Holy Sugar Honey Iced Tea, Holy Sugar Honey Iced Tea." Like, and this is where Chris Statlander wrap a chain around her right arm, hits a discus lariat right onto the face of right onto Diamante. This is where she tried to go for a pin. But that's where she hits right into Diamante's face. Like, this is where she does get the 1, 2, 3. And I was like, wow. Like, for me seeing that power bomb from Mercedes Martinez to Willow Nightingale into that sunset flip power bomb, I thought it was going to be Diamante and Martinez's match. But the tables are turned when Chris Statlander hit that discus clothesline with the chain around her arm, on her forearm, I should say. And then she got the win in this Texas hardcore street fight match for her and Willow Nightingale. And you thought this was the third match of the night? I think this was very entertaining. This was really, really good for the women's division. Definitely would say fourth match of the night. Like, if not fifth, but I would say fourth. And yeah, what are your thoughts about this match? Do you think it was a little too much, or could have gotten better, or do you think this was perfectly enough? Which I think it was perfectly enough. It was perfectly delivered for the women's division and into the AEW's women's division in the mid card, of course. I think they should be feuding with Sky Blue and Julia Hart, but don't get me wrong, it's still not too late to go and visit that feud with the TBS Women's Champion and her new latest henchman. But for now, we expect him to be in a feud for now against Thunder Rosa and and Abaddon into their odd couple pairing into a women's tag team feud. But I still think that we'll have Chris Statlander and Willow Nightingale facing Sky Blue or Sky Black, I should say, and Julia Hart in the foreseeable future. We'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, this is where we got. This is where we have up next. Then we have Timeless Tony Storm in an interview with her new assistant, Mariah May, with her holding her AEW Women's World Championship. This is where Renee Paquette was like since you the win from this past Wednesday on Dynamite when she beat on Dynamite in the women's number contenders match, Riho won the match against Ruby Soho, and she's gonna face you at World's End at AEW for that AEW Women's World Championship. Like, and she was like, "Do you have a preference on the opponent? Like, on the opponent who you want to face?" And then this is where Toast like, "Really? You had to ask me this question?" And then this is where Renee Paquette's like, "Mariah, it's good to see you as well." And since we last spoken, I update on your next in your future upcoming match in your debut in AEW. Do you care to share who could be your next opponent? who could be your upcoming opponent on your debut match here on All Elite Wrestling? This is where Mariah May was like, well, and this was like, well, Tony Khan helped me apply for my American wrestling license. So like the vast see now Tony Storm, you're sensational like and stuff on Dynamite, and I was hoping you could commentate my first match. And this is where Tony Storm was now like in my upcoming match, like whoever that be, like, can you be a guest commentator on my match, please? And then this is where Tony Storm's like, darling, like I'm very busy right now. Like I would love to, but I have so much things to do on my plate. So it looks like I'm gonna have to miss your upcoming match. That like if it's coming up anytime soon. And then this is where Mariah May was like, "Oh, that's fine. Like, don't sweat it. Like, I know you're busy, but you can check it out at some point. Maybe you can be a support for me, like in ringside." This is where Tony Storm was like, "Man, like." Tony, I'm very busy. Like next time I hold a seminar, like first I'll be the first one to know. Like when I be available to be on your corner in your next match. And then now let me finish my interview. What I have to say to any of the all the women that's trying to step up to me in the locker room, and then that leads to Riho and Soraya, which is going to be a number one contenders match this coming Wednesday on Dynamite. And the winner gets to face me at World's End. Well, I got this to say to them. Go out there and slap each other's TI. Y'all could go out there and slap each other's TITSs off or gouge each other's eyes out. Like, pull y'all's gorgeous so-called gorgeous hair off with her eyes rolled. And she was like, you're going to face one of the two, like, and y'all could be two T-list, blindless baldies, which that was the perfect line that goes together in the combination. What she's saying, like you can slap each other's cleavage off and their seeing device, pull each other's seeing devices off, or pull off their hairs apart until they're completely bald, looking like some blind T-list baldies or T-list blind baldies. You know what she said? And she was like, my head will be up and my teeth will be up, and I'm going to show you. And this way Renee Paquette's like, okay, you don't need to do that. And also you don't need to explain that. We get the point. Like you always say that, like every time you're in whatever interviews, like whether if it's with me, Lexi, or anybody that's interviewing at AEW or even outside of AEW, like you don't have to go to there, but we get the point. And she was like, and she even reminded Renee Paquette, Tony Storm responded, reminding Renee Paquette saying, everything's big in Texas, And this is where Renee Paquette's like, all right, like I know, like it's good to have you in the interview. And it's like, and this is where she left the interview booth along with Mariah May, like holding on to her AEW Women's Championship, walking right behind her. And it was the color was in black and white, like it usually would be in interviews or segments or anything about Tony Storm, like until she gets in that ring. This is where she's like, back to you guys in commentary. This is where we have a vignette of Adam Copeland and Christian Cage challenging Adam Copeland challenging Christian Cage for the TNT title in a no DQ match, like at World's End for the TNT title. This is where he was like for the past 11 or for the past 12 years in 2011, I've been like my neck injury kept me for 9 long years, and I have conquered that 9 long year absence of being away from the ring, and also I know and Christian also knows that I've been looking for a championship gold ever since I had to relinquish the championship I was at that point. And I'm gonna show him exactly who the hell I am. And he was like, I'm gonna judge you at World's End. And there's gonna be no excuses, no DQ, and Like, it's gonna be a no disqualification match. I'm going to beat you, and I'm gonna be the new TNT champion once and for all. And there's nothing that you or Shayna Wayne can do about it. But this is where we have Brian Cage in a squash match. Like, that didn't, like, with this enhancement talent, like but this is where the enhancement talent at first was beating him, like was it had the first offense for like a good couple of seconds, and even mocked Prince Nana by doing the swerve when he drive dance until he got clobbered by Brian Cage with a huge clothesline. He's like nobody, and this is where Brian Cage is like nobody, and I mean nobody, like mocks our Prince and our manager in AEW ever, and you're gonna apologize to him after I annihilate you into this contest. And then this is where Brian Cage picks him up. This is where he had him in a fallaway slam position. This is where he started flexing him up, like if he was doing some curls, like with a bench press bars, like with bench press bar, like then he was flexing him up, like if he was doing some double curls. This is where he puts him right between his legs. This is where he locks him up, went to a magnetism power bomb, I should say. This is where he picks him up. This is where he hits him into like a jack driver, I should say, looking like a pile driver and pile driver and a jackhammer put together, because he flipped him up, put him up like a tombstone pop, but he sit down like a driver and a jackhammer, like at the same time. And this is where he got the 1, 2, 3. And it looks like we have some future plans for Brian Cage, and whether if it's in the main event scene or even at least in the mid card for now. But for now, he's the reigning defending AEW Ring of Honor Trios champion. This is where we got the Acclaim, like in a backstage interview next, like with them challenging the black hooded mask minions of the Mystery Devil, like in a match, like in the upcoming AEW show, like they want a piece of them. I was like, it could be as soon as this coming Wednesday's Dynamite, but at the same time, I could see them wrestling them at World's End and take off the mask and who these minions are after they beat them. But either way, like you're gonna have to wait, put it on hold, because this is where the top flights, Action Andretti, Darius, and Dante Martin started to challenging them for the AEW trios titles. And what's your thoughts on that? Can we see new trios champions, or are we gonna see the Acclaim remain their title reigns and try to make it up to the longest reign as the trios championships in all of All Elite Wrestling? Y'all let me know down in the comments below, which I believe they will. And they'll even probably defend their titles against the Mystery Devil. Three guys out of the mystery guys of the Devil's minions, in my opinion. This is where up next we had this is where we got we also had some confrontation with Keith Lee. He was like, I don't remember what your boy Swerve did when the Mogul Embassy was getting ready and getting hyped up about they're gonna have gold with the Mogul Embassy. Like they got the trios go. Swerve Strickland's gonna be they're gonna bounce back from the controversial screwy win from against John Moxley, and he's gonna be in a he's gonna bounce back and gonna be back on get back to into the stats where John Moxley is, but he's gonna be number one when he's gonna win, which I don't think so, because I think John Moxley's gonna go undefeated. Like if John Moxley be undefeated, I think Swerve Strickland may not have a chance. I'm not doubting him. It's just that I would say if it depends. Like if Swerve Strickland could tie with him, he might have a chance. But if not, then it looks if John Moxley remains to be undefeated regardless, like looks like he might not be like a favorite, like one of the favorites no more. Even though like it's been like the fans all over the internet predicting him to win and become the new Continental Triple Crown champion of AEW. But what's your thoughts on that? Let me know down in the comments below. But this is where Keith Lee confront and this is where Keith Lee was like, "I'm not finished with your boy Swerve when he stabbed me right in the back," which we're finally AEW's finally listening to the fans because they split them up for no reason and they did not have a continuous backstory at the time, so they just dropped the angle at least at that time until finally at the end of the year of 2023 they finally bring it back, and they're finally going to finish that storyline with that feud with the Limitless one taking on the Swerve, which we're going to finally see who's going to come out as the victor into the potential match in the future, probably by 2024, which I believe Keith Lee should win because Swerve Strickland did more of the attacks on Keith Lee than he ever had a chance to do on Swerve. So I think Keith Lee should definitely get a win and definitely put in this feud once and for all and show them that he was the better man into their tag team alliance. But anyway, this is where we got Eddie Kingston taking on Daniel Garcia, with Eddie Kingston puts him in a headlock or a sleeper, I should say, right onto the dancing superstar. This is where Daniel Garcia tried to get out of it. This is where the fans started clapping for Eddie Kingston, and the other half for Daniel Garcia. This is where he started hitting left, right, right onto the current Ring of Honor World Champion and New Japan Strong Openweight Champion. This is where he started fighting back, started hitting lefts and rights onto the midsection of Daniel Garcia. This is where Eddie Kingston tried to get back on his feet. This is where Matt Menard was sitting with commentary with Kevin Kelly and Tony Schiavone and Nigel McGuinness on who Nigel McGuinness like with him having a heart attack and sweating like in nervousness of cheering on Daniel Garcia now come on Danny, like this is your chance of getting back into this Continental Classic tournament, like come on, like this is this is your only hope, like Daniel, like come on, don't let him beat you. Like this is where this is where Eddie Kingston did not give a damn what Gunther about anything about Gunther, because he started hitting chops repeatedly because he wants to prove that he's a better champion than the Austrian. But yeah, I don't think they're gonna do some kind of championship versus championship from two different promotions. So I think they're gonna wait until either if Gunther leaves WWE for AEW or vice versa with Eddie Kingston going to WWE, which I'm not sure if he's going to go to WWE anytime soon, but he probably wants the Walter version, not the WWE gimmick name of Gunther. But anyway, this is where Eddie Kingston started hitting chops repeatedly right onto what's his name? Daniel Garcia. This is where he started charging right at the right. Charged him back at Daniel Garcia by stepping back, going back on the upper right corner, and licked the half of the side of the right hand. Start hitting more chops repeatedly right onto Daniel Garcia. And I'll say, man, this kind of classic matches do not disappoint. None of the three matches that always come 3 times a week with the scramblers of who's going to wrestle who and how the match is going to be. Like Tony Khan did a really good job on who he selected on both the Golden Leagues and the Blue Leagues, which this is the third match of the night of tonight's Collision, which it did not. If it hadn't been for the Andrade El Idolo versus Claudio match in the opener and the main event match with Bryan Danielson against Brody King, I'll say this was the number one match of the night. But Eddie King started hitting knife edge chops repeatedly right on the chest. I'll say me in general, I would say like 5 out of 7 matches tonight were very entertaining and very, very, really, really, really good. Like it showed why to watch AEW Collision tonight. Like the best way to describe um on how the shows were on tonight's broadcast. And this is where Daniel Garcia is like, "Give me all you got. That's all you got. Like, give me more." This is where he started doing the dance. This is where Matt Menard was getting kind of irritated. He's like, no, like, stop. Keep doing that dance. Worry about fighting Eddie. This is where Eddie keeps trying to go for more chops, which he started doing for a third time in a row. Being added triple times as much as he ever been into the envy list combined. Which he had like a long list about Eddie Kingston hitting that chop, which I believe he's number one on his list in all of AEW wrestlers that's on his list of envy. And he's probably gonna murk them each down one by one, which that remains to be seen, by the way. But anyways, this is where Eddie Kingston was continuing to hit the chops, but it was silent, so Gunther's gonna give him a pass for that. But this is where he started hitting the chops, but even though Eddie Kingston don't need the pass, but he started hitting the chops right onto the chest of Daniel Garcia. This is where the referee's like, "That's enough. We get your point. Like, you get your point what you're doing here." This is where Daniel Garcia is still doing that dance. This is where Eddie Kingston started winding up his arm forward. Like, say, he's still got more damages to do to the former Ring of Honor Pure Champion. This is where he tried to charge at Daniel Garcia. He moves out of the way. This is where he started hitting right hands, right kicks, and left hands. This is where he started going punches, kicks, right to the head and the face of Eddie Kingston, and stomps, like on the midsection of the Mad King, like repeatedly. This is where he starts stomping onto the shoulder and the head. This is where Daniel Garcia runs onto the bottom rope, hits a big haluva boot right into the side of the face of Eddie Kingston. This is where he picks him up, try to go for a double underhook suplex, but this is where Eddie Kingston rolls out of it. This is where he tried to kick him right in the gut, but this is where Daniel Garcia grabs onto his leg, hits a dragon screw right onto the canvas. This is where he got him into a dragon's like a dragon's hook, not a dragon. So I'll say what's that name of it? Not Dragon Tame. That's a sharpshooter. But I'll say the dragon's what's that dragon, the Achilles lock, I guess I could call. But this is where Eddie Kingston got on grab onto the ropes. This is where he kicks him right off. This is where Daniel Garcia runs right through the upper corner ropes. This is where he tried to go for a clothesline. Eddie Kingston ducks out. He tried to go for a German suplex, but this is where Daniel Garcia flips over. This is where he got him in an ankle locked in. This is where he puts his legs wrapped around Eddie Kingston's left leg. Like, they try to put more pressure and more force, like, by twisting the ankle. Like, this is where Eddie Kingston's like, "Nah, I will not surrender. Please let me go." This is where what's his name? Matt Menard was like, "Come on, you got this, boy. You got this, my son. Like, come on, like, you got it. Like, make him tap. Like, do it." And this is we got this match in the bag, but this is where Eddie Kingston grabs onto the ropes, onto the right corner. This is where the referee was like, "All right, he got his hands on the rope, like 1, 2." Daniel Garcia's like, "I'm still not done yet." This is where Eddie Kingston was like, "Oh, sugar honey iced tea." Like, Eddie Kingston was like, he was like an inch of a second away from crying, but he held it in like, "Oh my God," like, it hurts. Like, it's painful. And this is where Daniel Garcia tried to run and go for an attack move onto Eddie Kingston right in the lower right corner. But this is where Eddie Kingston caught him right in the middle into the canvas, hits an exploder suplex right onto the bottom right corner, which that probably would made Sami Zayn envious. But after he did that, when Daniel Garcia got back up, this is where Eddie Kingston hits a back fist, like doing that spinning back fist right to the head. This is where he goes for the pin, but the referee counted 1, counted 2, but Daniel Garcia got the shoulder up at 2.99999999999. Double, triple nine. This is where Matt Menard was like, "We're still in it, thank you, God. Like, we're still in the match." And then this is where Eddie Kingston was red in raging anger. This is where Eddie Kingston was like, "You gotta be kidding me right now. Why in the hell did he kick out? I need to come up with another move to do, like, in order to like a move that's more dominant than more dominant than the back fist, even though that's dominant itself, but got to be with more triple times is powerful. Where you try to go for a Falcon driver. This is where Daniel Garcia has the spinning back suplex, looking like the Regalplex. This is where this is where both men try to go charging at each other. But this is where Eddie Kingston's I believe his right knee went out. Yeah, his right knee went out. This is where it gave Daniel Garcia enough time to hit a big knee right to the head. It's a spinning back suplex or second time. This is where Daniel Garcia tried to go for a pin, but this is where this is where Eddie Kingston returned him the favor, like from him kicking out earlier, which was getting kicked out of the move 2.999 double triple nines, negative 0.1 away from being 3. This is where Daniel Garcia tried to go for the dragon, try to go for the dragon tamer, I believe, but this is where Eddie Kingston kicks him right off. This is where Daniel Garcia puts him right onto the lower right corner of Tina the Turnbuckle. This is where they start throwing lefts and right strikes right back in their face, like with punches, chops, slaps, right in the face. This is where the fans were cheering them, cheering on like this is awesome, which it really was. This is where Daniel Garcia drop kicks the knee, like right onto his leg, like yeah, I bless Eddie Kingston's soul for taking such a hit like that. This is where Daniel Garcia runs from the upper corner ropes, I believe. This is where he tried to go for a clothesline, but this is where Eddie Kingston hits a half snapdragon Nelson suplex right in the middle of the ring mat. This is where Eddie Kingston gets back. This is where it's like power on the back fist. Oh, and he finally hits a second time, which he was double lucky, like of hitting the maneuver because it was a guaranteed either way, like of hitting 2 times in a row. This is where he goes for the pin. But this time he did not kick out, and referee did count to 3. Eddie Kingston scored 3 more points, making them 6 points. He's still in the tournament, and he may have lost the first 2 matches, but the second 2 matches he finally got the wins. He's bouncing back, which he's gonna face, I believe. Who was it? I believe it was Andrade, while Bryan Danielson will take on his own best friend Claudio Castagnoli, and Brody King will take on Daniel Garcia at the final round at the 5th. After 5th, round 5, I believe. Yeah. Which, even though he's not going to get no wins, he's still. He's not going to get he's not going to make it to the tournament after not winning this match, but it shows that Daniel Garcia still will fight until the very end. It did show Daniel Garcia is not going to give up until the very end. Like he's a go-getter and he's not a quitter. Like I got to hand it to him. And even if he does win and not going to be in the tournament, like at least he tried. Like and he was so close, but at the same time it was not enough to get stay in the tournament and into the semifinals for the Triple Crown Continental Championship. But let's move on to the main event of the evening, which is Bryan Danielson against Brody King, the match of the night, like I've been talking about. But we're going to explain what exactly went down on the bout, like between the American Dragon and the big dog of the House of Black faction, I should say. And who's going to walk out here is the still unbeatable guy, I should say. Well, I'll say not the unbeatable because Andrade beat him, and he was unbeatable until he lost to Claudio, which is Bryan Danielson's teammate. But we're going to get to the point. We're going to talk about them hitting them with hard-hitting moves, especially with Brody King trying to target that eye of Bryan Danielson as for his advantage, like what Andrade was doing a week ago. Which I was like, what is up with these guys trying to take a shot at Danielson's eye, like trying to brutally damage the eye of the American Dragon? Like, I just don't get it. Like, what is up with that? But this is where they start continuing to do so, like by hitting with such dangerous moves. Like like hitting like axe handles and then hitting elbows and forearms and even power slams and stuff until Brian Danielson came back, hit the drop kick right onto the. This is where he hit the flying drop kick when they were on the top rope, like not hit a four missile drop, even though Brody King was still on his feet, but pushed him back to go to the lower left corner of Team of the Turnbuckle. This is where he started hitting the yes kicks repeatedly onto the big the the big hail dog of the House of Black faction. This is where Brian Danielson grabs onto the left leg of Brody King. This is where he start wedging it right onto the middle ropes, onto the left-hand corner of the ring. This is where he hits a yes roundhouse kick repeatedly right onto Brody King. This is where he puts him back inside the ring. This is where he puts him. This is where he puts Brody King, lifts up Brody King. I don't know how Brian Danielson did this, but he put him right on the top rope. This is where he met him on the top rope, trying to go for a big Hurricane Rana, top rope Hurricane Rana, I should say. This is where Brody King started trying to hit right hands right onto Brian Danielson, and he landed right family jewel first, right on the top rope on the bottom corner. Luckily, he has a family, and he started a family sooner, back a few years ago, with his daughter and son, which MJF like calling Birdie, like if he was referring to my nephew. But anyways, this is where Brody King was hanging off the middle rope, taking a shot at the Miz when he fought him on was it SummerSlam? No, that's SummerSlam. Night of Champions for the United States Championship. Yeah. Because he has a big lariat right off the middle ropes on the left side to the bottom corner side, like hit the big clothesline from Hale right off the middle ropes. This is where he tried to go for a pin, but he only got a 2.7 count. This is where Brody King had Brian Danielson right into the lower right corner onto the bottom turnbuckle. Brody King was like, I have him finally right where I want him to finish him up. And he was like, raw! And he tried to go for the and this is where he tried to go for the cannonball before he can even do a front somersault flip. This is where Brian Danielson slides down in the middle of the ring, grab him by his left leg, had him in a single leg Boston Crab, but he's not even from Boston, not even halfway from Boston. But he hit the single-legged half Boston Crab. Like might as well call it the single-leg Washington crab. Or Aberdeen crab, I should say, because he's from the other side of the country in the Northwest rather than the Northeast. But anyway, this is where Brian Danielson had it locked in right onto Brody King, tap out, Brody, tap out. And then this is where Brody King grabbed on his leg. He's like, ow, my knee. This is where Brian Danielson tried to get back up. This is where he tried to charge at Brody King, but he started hitting right hands, like intercepting any maneuvers that Brian Danielson was trying to do. That's where hitting left forearm strikes right into the face. This is where Brody King was like, come on, give me what you got. This is where Brian Danielson starts sliding with the right strike, yes kicks right into the leg. This is where Brody King hits a right forearm right into his face. This is where Brian Danielson starts shaking like, yes, I want more pain, more pain. And also, we also have announced that it was Roosh that's going to take, Swerve Strickland's going to take on. Roosh, he's going to take on Roosh, and it was John Moxley against Jay White. And I believe Mark Briscoe takes on Jay Lethal. Finally, we have this match. And we also have Roderick Strong taking on Roderick Strong taking on Commander with a K. Which that's coming Wednesday on Dynamite on the Holiday Bash edition of the SNA podcast. But anyway, this is where Brian Danielson started kicking him right into the gut. This is where he started hitting yes kicks, like right leg, right into the head. This is where he dodged the last part, like before he started going back to doing yes kicks, right into the left leg of Brody King. And this is where he tried to go for a discus clothesline, but he kicked the right side of the left side of his leg with his right leg. Before he can even hit the clothesline. This is where Brian Danielson hits the kick continuously right to the leg. This is where he repeatedly doing. This is where Brian Danielson brought him down on his feet. This is where Brian Danielson tried to hit some elbow strikes right to the left shoulder of Brody King by putting his right leg right onto the right shoulder of Brody King. Start elbow striking the shoulder of Brody King and the left shoulder and the left neck, I should say, like the Blackpool Combat Club, I'm doing to their opponents, always putting them to sleep. But amazingly, that didn't happen right here when he started repeatedly doing so to Brody King. And this is where Brody King was still conscious. Like nothing in conscious was not going to bring down unless you had like a lead, like a 500-pound lead or anvil. This is where Brody King started breathing in and breathing out. It was like, ah. And this is where Brody King had, I believe, this is where Brody King grabs onto Bryan Danielson, put him between his legs into a power, try to go for the razor's edge. But this is where Bryan Danielson rolled out. But this is where he hits a huge knife edge chop right on the Bryan Danielson. This is where Brody King tried to go for a running splash right onto Bryan Danielson when he went back first right onto the upper left corner of Tina the Turnbuckle. But yeah, that earned the envy list, maybe way at the bottom for Brody King, but still enough to be on the envy list. This is where Bryan Danielson hits a running knee right onto Brody King. This is where he tried to go for a pin, but he kicks out of 1 even. I was like, I can see 2 even or even 2.99, but 1 even count from the running knee. Like that's the first time I saw anybody kicking out of the running knee. And this is where Bryan Danielson nearly had his left eye open, like for being shocked. Like even though his orbital bone's still broken, like from his left eye, but this is where Bryan Danielson tried to come up with another method, which was the former yes kicks, but it's just the sliding forward roundhouse kicks repeatedly, where fans were chanting yes, yes. It is where Brody King, like, I believe the third attempt we go for a kick, I believe. Oh no, it was. It's the fourth attempt when he hits him with the sliding kick like he would do at the last. This is where he tried to go. This is where I try to go. This is where I try to go for another kick, but this is where Brody King hits a big lariat out of nowhere. This is where Brody King tried to go for a pin, but this is where Bryan Danielson kicks out at 2.999999999999999 double triple nines, like 0.1 away from being 3. Like this was a really great match. This is where Brody King tried to go for a power bomb off the top rope, but this is where Bryan Danielson rolled out of it into a small package, something that he beat Jey Uso with before back 3 years ago. But yeah, but only got him a 1-2 like where he kicks out instantly when referee counts the 2. This is where Brody King tried to go for a running lariat right onto another running lariat, but it wasn't a guarantee because he already went for the first attempt and he already got it executed. This is where Bryan Danielson ducks and runs right through the left corner ropes, hits a running knee right onto Brody King, knocking him down on his feet. Which he was double lucky because it was a double guarantee because he attempted to do it the first time. He did it. He got it successfully executed, and then the second time it was. Second time he did it, like when he countered out of the clothesline, which that wasn't guaranteed, but it was a double guarantee for Bryan Danielson because he was double lucky. And this is where he did it the triple time. Like the third time was a charm for a running knee, right for a third attempt of the running knee. Even though he didn't found a 4-leaf clover, like he was still lucky enough to get 3 times hitting a running knee in a row. And then that's where Bryan Danielson tried to go for one more time into the bottom right corner, which he does in the back of Brody King's head, which was a grand slam, a grand slam, a lucky grand slam running knee, like that he hit on Brody King for the 4th time in a row. Even though he didn't need 4-leaf clovers, but he didn't need 4, but he hit 4 lucky grand slam running knees to the big hell dog of the House of Black faction. I was like, wow. Like how he did that. And this is where the referee counted the 1, counted the 2, counted the 3, but Brody Lee tried to get the shoulder up, like doing a botch. Like I believe that was unscripted for him to do. But he thought it was like one more time he's gonna do a kick out like that until Bryan Danielson finally finished him off. But he forgot that he wasn't supposed to do that. Like, but this is where he kicks out, but it was too late. It was 3.1 seconds by the time he kicked out of the maneuver, and kicked out of the maneuver, but Danielson won the match. And he scores 3 more points, making him number one on top, being number not being having scoring 9 points onto his scoring 9 points onto his records of into this onto this what's that Continental Classic tournament. And that was your AEW Collision tonight with Bryan Danielson getting his 3rd straight win in a row, I believe. No, it was his 3rd win, but he got 2 straight wins, but lost the 3rd match against Andrade El Idolo. But he scored 3 points, he's 3-1 when it comes to he's 3-1 when it comes to this Continental Classic tournament. But yeah, he got like 3 wins that have 9 points and got a 0 from facing Andrade a week ago. And what's your thoughts on this bounce back win from Bryan Danielson? And do you think this was the match of the night or 2nd or 3rd? Let me know down in the comments below what y'all think about this match. But I'll say overall, AEW Collision was a 4.5-star show. Like, it was really entertaining and very interesting on seeing what's going to happen next on World's End and who's going to be in the finals of the Continental Classic and who's going to become the Triple Crown AEW Continental Champion, along with merging with the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Championship and the New Japan Strong Openweight Championship. And who's going to win that match? Let me know in the comments down below. The excitement of AEW, like the same with WWE's excitement. The same excitement with AEW does not stop. Like, we're gonna continue to keep talking about what's going on, like what if it's on the news or the wrestling reviews, like from AEW, WWE, what's gonna happen next, and all of professional wrestling. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I've been your host, Super Ninja Austin, on this 180th episode of the SNA podcast. Part 18 of the not wrestling news, part 18 of AEW Collision. That's right, part 18 of AEW Collision. And if you like this video, please smash on the big thumbs up button and comment down below. Also smash the subscribe button so you can be the first one to be notified when I upload my next video. And I hate flies. But anyways, and I'm gonna upload my next video, which will be the wrestling news episode 181, and we're gonna be talking about what's going on all over the news and all of professional wrestling. Where Super Ninja Austin's going to be talking about the wildest wrestling news stories and rumors that you SNA fans need to know. And I'm going to be reading from the Ringside News article on December 17th, 2023. Make sure y'all check that out as well. Also, make sure you watch my other videos and share it with your friends and family all over social media. And also, and hopefully y'all guys will have a great Saturday night. And I'll see you all next on tomorrow's afternoon wrestling news video. Until we meet again, Super Ninja Austin, the assassin, is out. Bye-bye, my SNA fans. See you tomorrow afternoon.